My leadership style is completely different to theirs. I recognize the strengths of everyone on the team and use them efficiently, which is something they cannot do.
Have you ever noticed how the most destructive force in our careers isn't external competition, but our own attempts to tear others down? Today, we're exploring a fascinating case that proves exactly why that backfires.
Well, that's such an intriguing way to look at it. You're talking about that universal principle of reaping what we sow, aren't you?
Exactly right. And there's this ancient proverb that captures it perfectly. He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. Let's break down why this matters so much in today's world.
The language might be old, but those words feel incredibly relevant to modern workplace dynamics.
You know what's fascinating? The word choice of iniquity. We're not talking about small mistakes or slip-ups here. This is about deliberate harm, calculated negative actions.
So, when it says we'll reap vanity, that's suggesting all that negative energy leads to what exactly?
Think of it like building a house of cards. You might get something that looks impressive for a moment, but there's no foundation, no substance. It's all show, no staying power.
And that second part about the rod of anger failing, that seems to be warning us about using force or aggression as a tool.
Let me share a real-world example that perfectly illustrates this principle. It involves a job candidate who thought he had figured out the perfect strategy to land a competitive position.
Oh, I'm already getting that feeling this isn't going to end well.
Well, here's the thing. This candidate had solid qualifications, probably enough to stand on their own merit. But instead of highlighting his strengths, he made a calculated decision to systematically tear down every other candidate during his interview.
That's such a risky approach. What was going through his mind?
You know what's interesting? He actually left the interview feeling triumphant, convinced his strategy of pointing out others' flaws had secured him the position.
Well, that kind of confidence often comes right before a fall, doesn't it?
The employer's response was fascinating. They didn't even consider his qualifications. Their exact words were that they didn't want someone who would stab others in the back. It's like they saw right through to his character.
So his attempt to elevate himself by pushing others down completely backfired. That's the vanity part of the proverb in action.
And here's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about one failed interview. It's about a pattern we see repeated across all aspects of life, from personal relationships to professional environments.
That reminds me of some recent research about workplace toxicity. Studies show that negative behavior from just one employee can reduce team productivity by up to 30%.
Those numbers are staggering, and they really highlight the ripple effect of negative actions. But let's dig deeper into why people choose this approach in the first place.
Well, that's an interesting question. What drives someone to think tearing others down is the path to success?
Research in behavioral psychology suggests it often comes from a place of insecurity. When people don't fully trust in their own value, they look for ways to diminish others instead of building themselves up.
That makes me think about how social media might be amplifying this tendency.
Absolutely right. Platforms that encourage comparison and competition can make it tempting to focus on others' perceived weaknesses rather than our own growth. Studies show that 60% of professionals admit to engaging in some form of workplace undermining behavior online.
Those statistics are concerning. How do we break this cycle?
Well, research from organizational behavior experts suggests 3 key strategies. First, focus on value creation rather than competition. Second, practice what they call abundance thinking, the idea that success isn't a zero-sum game. And third, actively work to lift others up.
That last point seems particularly powerful. When we help others succeed, we often end up creating opportunities for ourselves too.
The data backs that up. A study from Harvard Business Review found that employees who regularly helped colleagues were 40% more likely to get promoted themselves.
That really brings us back to the Proverbs' wisdom. Positive actions tend to create positive results.
And what's fascinating is how this principle shows up across different cultures and traditions. Whether it's karma in Eastern philosophy or you reap what you sow in Western tradition, this understanding seems universal.
So, what's the practical takeaway for someone listening who might recognize these tendencies in themselves?
Well, behavioral experts suggest starting with a simple exercise. Before taking any action, especially in competitive situations, ask yourself, am I building up or tearing down? This simple question can help redirect negative impulses.
That seems like such a powerful filter to run our actions through.
And here's what makes it even more compelling. Studies show that people who consistently choose constructive approaches report 45% higher job satisfaction and 50% stronger professional relationships.
Those numbers make a strong case for choosing the high road, don't they?
They really do. And what's particularly interesting is how this principle applies beyond just career success. It affects our mental health, our relationships, even our physical well-being.
How so? Can you elaborate on those connections?
Research from the field of psychoneuroimmunology shows that harboring negative intentions actually triggers stress responses in our bodies, while positive actions release beneficial neurochemicals like oxytocin and serotonin.
That's fascinating. So, there's actually a biological basis for this ancient wisdom.
Exactly. And when we look at long-term studies of career success, people who consistently practice supportive behaviors show 37% higher lifetime earnings compared to those who regularly engage in undermining behaviors.
Those findings really drive home the practical value of this principle.
And here's something else to consider. The digital age has made reputation more important than ever. Actions that might once have been forgotten now leave permanent traces.
That's such an important point about the lasting impact of our choices.
Looking ahead, what do you think this means for the future of professional relationships and success strategies?
Well, from everything we've discussed, it seems clear that the old model of climbing over others to reach the top is becoming increasingly unsustainable.
And that brings us full circle to our original proverb, the rod of anger shall fail. In today's interconnected world, that failure happens faster and more publicly than ever before.
So, what's one final thought you'd leave our listeners with?
Consider this. Every interaction is a seed we're planting for our future. The question isn't just what we want to achieve, but what kind of garden we want to grow along the way.
That's such a powerful way to frame it. Thank you for this fascinating exploration of how our actions shape our outcomes.